prior to the NBA arrests on Thursday, did you think the mafia was still a thing?
What are you talking? What is the mafia? I don't know what you're talking about, Derek.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. That's how us Italians usually operate. Like the mafia's not a real thing. No Cosa Nostra. But
never heard of it.
When I saw that Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups were arrested Thursday, and they said that Chauncey Billups was involved in poker games with the mafia, something out of the Sopranos. I was like, I know that like there's still organized crime and there's gangsters, but the mafia, like I thought, like I watched enough mafia documentaries where the mafia was prevalent in the 80s and 90s, but I didn't think about today there's still mafia. Like we're talking about the old country, not talking about like drug dealers or, like still gangsters, organized crime, but mafia, Cosa Nostra we're talking about.
Yeah, and the families too, because
the
in
five
some of those,
families,
in some of those reports, the families are named in them. And I thought what was really fascinating was the fact that they were using people like Chauncey Billups for their fame to get people into these rigged poker games. And I'm just like, man, speculation big time, but I gotta think that people like Chauncey Billups who are involved with this have some type of gambling debt that they're trying to repay back. I mean, how else do you get roped into something like that?
No, dude, I'm with you. We'll get into a little bit more as that kind of shocked the NBA on Thursday morning right after most of the league played on Wednesday night. They had the opener on Tuesday night. We'll get to that along with a lot of football today. Alon's filling in for Stephen Langford, just your opinion, man. We're coming to you on a Saturday morning, a rainy Saturday morning here in the Bay Area. How's everything weather-wise in Las Vegas for you, Alon?
Well, I got blue sky. I'm looking out the window right now. Blue skies, partly cloudy, and the sphere is lit up, and it looks good.
You can see the sphere from where you're located?
Yeah, I'm in the heart of the town now, right near the university.
Oh, so you're not in Henderson anymore?
No, I moved back towards Vegas proper just to be closer to all the athletic facilities here. And then obviously I'm teaching in the morning. So it's a lot easier to ride my bike than do a 30-minute drive from Henderson every day.
No, I'm with you on that one. So yeah, man, let's start with football. Let's go with the Thursday night game. That will lead into a bigger discussion of the AFC West. But you and I went head to head with picks. You picked the Minnesota Vikings straight up. And you took the over, got the over right, but the Chargers just dominated against the Vikings, 37-10. And I understand why you went with the Vikings because of the injuries the Chargers were, going through. Joe Alt came back. Aaron Jones came back for the Vikings. He was just not a factor whatsoever because I played him in fantasy. I think I got like 4 points from him and a grand total of that. So,
he's on my team too, Derek.
Yeah, no, I've been ravaged with injuries for fantasy. I was doing well, and then Joe Burrow got hurt. Aaron Jones got hurt. Puka Nacua got hurt. Garrett Wilson got hurt. So I've just been royally fucked when it comes to fantasy. But just the game itself, I think Carson Wentz. I was talking to Steven about this last podcast. It's sad, dude. Like you were still working with us back in 95-7. When Carson Wentz was having his MVP season with the Philadelphia Eagles and ultimately got hurt with the torn ACL, and he just never was that player again. And I think it was the injuries, not to mention mentally what he went through when Nick Foles won Super Bowl MVP. But just seeing him on Thursday night just get beat up behind that Minnesota Vikings offensive line, and he's just not the same player. He's just screaming in agony on the sideline. And Kirk Herbstreit is like calling him out for showing emotion. Where I'm like, I get it. He's hurt. He's definitely playing through injury right now. And I'm assuming they're going to go back to JJ McCarthy. But the Chargers side, they were able to run the ball with Kamani Vidal for 117 yards, and Justin Herbert threw 3 touchdown passes. And you and I talked about it in the past where Justin Herbert is this electric quarterback, and you can have a running game, but you can't just run the ball over and over and over again like last year with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards and not play to this guy's strengths, not use him like a Justin Allen or any of these other great quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. So I'm glad that Greg Roman has, kind of expanded the offense for him. But yeah, just the Chargers still have injuries. I don't know about, in the grand scheme of things, if they'll win the AFC West, but dominant effort on Thursday night against the Vikings.
They were incredible, and the only blemish from Herbert was really, and it was when he was under pressure too. He got flushed out to the left side, of the pocket there, and then throws that interception when they're like backed up on their own 10. It's in the third quarter. The game's already like 24-3. But yeah, no, Herbert, I think he passed like 25 times, but he didn't need to throw the ball all that many times because they built up such a big lead so fast. But I don't know. That game was competitive, Derek, for the first quarter, and then it just seemed to totally slip away. I think the Chargers still have problems protecting Herbert, so that's going to be an issue. But yeah, I agree. Greg Roman did something that I was not expecting, and that is to expand his offense and open it up for Justin Herbert to really take over games, and that's what we've seen. So when the Chargers have been successful this season, it's because they're letting Herbert do Justin Herbert type things. He had some good runs. His arm is amazing. He made all the throws he needed to make on the run as well. Like, I don't know. When he plays like that, they're a very tough team to beat. It's just you don't see it all the time because either they can't protect him or sometimes they decide to take the ball out of his hands and just rely on the running game. But I think with all the injuries that they have, and they're going to have more this season because every team does, I think they are going to have to say, okay, hey, Herbert, maybe not 50 times a game like during the Brandon Staley days, but
right,
at least 30. I mean, because you're hurting yourself by not doing it. He's your best player.
No, absolutely. And the Chargers, I mean, they look great to start the season. Injuries have definitely played a role right now and them kind of coming back to reality a little bit. But we'll see how it goes when we talk about the AFC West at the end of the season. But, when you watch the Chargers on Thursday night and you see the Broncos come back in their game against the Giants and the Chiefs' domination over the Raiders last week, you're like, how far away are the Raiders? And I feel we have this conversation every season because, the offseason looks good, looks promising. They get Pete Carroll, a guy that has won a Super Bowl, has won national championships with USC, knows how to instill a culture into a struggling franchise. And it's just the same thing. I was talking to Steven last podcast about the way the Raiders looked against the Chiefs. And the Chiefs, you expect them to win that game because they're a powerhouse in the AFC, obviously. They've won it the last 3 straight years. And they've dominated this division. But just to have a lifeless effort, like, Antonio Pierce was not a great coach, but at least he had some swagger against the Chiefs, and he beat them once, and I think that's overblown. Aiden O'Connell throwing for 58 yards. The Chiefs were just not good. They're going through a bad stretch of games when that Raider game was going on Christmas Day. But he wasn't scared. He had this, we're going to go into the Lions' den and we're going to fucking, go after them. And the games weren't great. I mean, the Chiefs have dominated the Raiders. Every AFC West team has dominated the Raiders. But just the effort they have, to have that performance against the Colts, to lose 40-6 and then come back 2 weeks later and just get shut out 31-0 and have a offensive performance that I haven't seen the likes of since the 2006 season, which well, Alon. So it just reminds us that even though they went out and got Geno Smith, even though they drafted Ashton Genty, even though things are trending in the right direction, you think with John Spytek picking the players and Pete Carroll being the head coach, it just looks the same. And I'm surprised when I hear Pete Carroll after a game just be like, yeah, I was shocked by that one. It's like, well, you shouldn't be. The Chiefs are the Chiefs are juggernauts. So I don't know, dude. I say all this to say, like, how do you feel about the team right now, and just how far are the Raiders, not just from the Chiefs, but everybody in that division right now?
I'd say from being competent, competitive in the AFC West. So let's take them against not the Chiefs, but the other 2 teams, the Broncos and the Chargers, because they're light years away from the Chiefs. And they're not going to be close to the Chiefs unless they either build a, Hall of Fame defense or if they have a Hall of Fame quarterback. But with the other 2 teams, I would say at least 2 years worth of drafts and free agency signings. I shouldn't say at least, because in 2 years, you can straighten it all out. And they do have a lot of money going forward, regardless of what they do with Geno Smith. But the real problem is that they don't have the players on the interior of the offensive line. That's their biggest problem. If they could fix that, they could be competitive in a year. But the problem is they haven't decided to fix it for a lot of years. You know, they've rolled out with the same guys for pretty much over the past couple of years. I know this offensive line is a new iteration, and the three holdovers are Parham, Glaze, JPJ, and Colton Miller. So 4 people, but 2 of those people, you don't know what they really are. You don't really know what Parham is, other than maybe a swing guy who can come in. DJ Glaze is interesting. He can still develop at right tackle. JPJ, everybody thinks is really good, but he's very boom or bust in his game, and he does commit a lot of penalties. And then Colton Miller, I don't have any issues with him. He's just been injured, right? But yeah, this team, I would say, is 2 good drafts or 2 decent drafts and finding a new quarterback away from being competitive. So in layman's terms, they're very far away. There's just no other way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear. And I mean, what were you thinking going into the season though, Alon? Like, I thought that they would at least look like not as dominant as the Patriots right now, but like trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
Like the way that Mike Vrabel's having effect on the Patriots right now, or Liam Cohen with the Jaguars, like something like I know I was kind of hopeful that maybe they would be a 10-win team, maybe contend for the playoffs, but it looks kind of similar to last year with Antonio Pierce. So I don't know. My expectations were that you would see a competitive team, not a team that gets beat 40-6 or 31-0. I don't know, man. I know they were far away from the rest of the teams in the division, but I didn't think it would be just so bad like it's been in previous years.
I thought that they would be in that 7-9 win range. It just, it was like, okay, Chip Kelly's coming. He's going to be the OC. Geno Smith, if he even plays close to what he played at the level he played at in Seattle, that will help a lot. Even if he played at the level he played last year in Seattle, would be light years better than what he's doing right now with the Raiders. And last year in Seattle was considered a major disappointment for him, coming off the previous two seasons. So I figured 7-9 wins. I was like, okay, this team, they do have some offensive weapons. Brock Bowers, who has been injured, is a massive just player for them and tough for anybody around the league to defend. I was expecting to see Ashton Genty do Ashton Genty things. We have seen him do those things. Unfortunately, he's just not getting the blocking consistently. And he doesn't need much blocking. He literally just needs you to hold the point of attack. You don't need to get downfield for him. But he's still getting blown up in the backfield. So I figured, yeah, this team would be a team that would put up, 3 or 4 touchdowns a game sometimes, but then lose close, a lot of 27-30 kind of stuff.
Right.
And instead, it's been they're offensively impotent, and for whatever reason, the offense just isn't clicking. It is one of the worst offenses I've seen the Raiders have. Yeah, 2006 you bring up. It's getting close to that. And that defense was really good that year, if you remember. This defense is not as good as that defense is. But I will say this, the defense this year is carrying the team when they are able to win. It's because of the defense. I mean, the offense strings together a few points here and there. But, yeah, I was expecting 7-9 wins and just a bit of competitiveness with other teams, not just in the division, but teams outside. And people say, oh, they were one blocked field goal away from being 3. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care if you beat the Bears. I mean, that would have been cool. But at the end of the day, it's not like that is going to change your season. And you're still having the same problems, because then your wins are against a brand new coach in a new place. Well, not brand new because he has experience, but new coach in a new place in Mike Vrabel. Your wins are against the Bears, who are not very good. And then your other win is against the Tennessee Titans. Like, does that really mean you're a competitive team? No, it just means that maybe you got one over on a team that you shouldn't have beat in the Patriots, and then you got 2 against 2 bad teams. So, yeah, they're far away. Not what I was expecting. That being said, all the people who I think say Pete Carroll's lost it, or he's too old, or the game's passing by, I think that's a bunch of baloney. I don't agree with that. I think that he's forgotten more football than most people will ever know in their whole life, and he still knows a whole lot more too. So I don't have an issue with him, and I think you got to give him time. You can't go through this cycle of hiring, firing. but they do need to take this bye week and then next week, obviously, to figure out what the hell they need to do to fix Geno Smith. And I don't know what that is other than put him under center and get him out of the shotgun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of Geno Smith. I had my doubts when they traded for him. I thought that, okay, this would be the best quarterback they've had since Derek Carr, but I still think Derek Carr is a better quarterback than Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith benefited from having DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And the reality is Geno Smith was not a bust, but not really a good quarterback for the majority of his career. He was a backup quarterback and then thrived in the Seattle system. But besides that, he hasn't been good. And I think that he went to the playoffs once with Seattle, and then Pete wants him, rather have him than Russell Wilson at this point. Trades for him, gets $40 million, and he doesn't look like the same guy. And he's playing with a bad offensive line and not really a good receiving core. Like Trey Tucker's his biggest play guy. You were hoping to get Brock Bowers, but he's been injured, as you said. Trey Tucker should be your slot guy. Your every once in a while, the guy that you go for a big play, a 40-yard bomb. But you need a true number one wide receiver, and Jacoby Myers isn't that guy. They're probably going to trade him at the trade deadline, if I had to guess. Bad, thought process going into the season where he wanted a contract and wanted to be traded, but he's just going through the motions playing right now. Jack Besh has not panned out so far as one of their draft picks, second-round pick. Dante Thornton has flashed really in the first game, but ever since then, not so much. So he hasn't really been good. He hasn't been given a good complement of wide receivers. And yeah, man, you mentioned Pete Carroll. I brought this up last podcast where I question if he's the same guy. And look, Pete Carroll is a Hall of Famer, and I understand why they named him head coach. When they wanted Ben Johnson, they were like, okay, well, what are the other options? Should we get a leader of men type that can, start a culture for us going forward? And Pete Carroll's that guy. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's the talent, but it just doesn't look like a Pete Carroll coach football team. So maybe it's just a longer process. I do wonder how long they have with Pete. That's no slight on him. It's just he is older. He is an older coach. And when you make moves like that, you kind of wonder, why he didn't go to a situation where he could just win right away. I think the Raiders try to do a lot of quick fixes by trading for a quarterback. They felt like we're going to compete for this season, and it's looking like another rebuild. So you have confidence in Pete Carroll, but what about the rest of the coaching staff at this point? Chip Kelly, one of the highest paid, I think he is the highest paid offensive coordinator of football right now. Patrick Graham was brought back, but the defense has been hit or miss. Just what do you make of his coordinators right now with Pete Carroll?
I think Patrick Graham is okay. I don't have any issues with him. I think a lot of the issues that are on the defense are outside of they're personnel issues. And I understand that the coach can still try to put players in the best position to succeed. But Isaiah Polamau, very boomer bust, makes some big hits here and there, but then blows coverages. Not so much because he's making mistakes, but his reaction time is very slow sometimes. He just doesn't recognize what's going on, and when he does, coverage is blown. So the back end still needs a lot of work. But I think Patrick Graham has been, I almost said Paul Gunther, who's the DC for the Rebels. Sorry, he's really bad. But
one-time Raiders defense coordinator with Gruden.
Yeah, it's good he's back in Las Vegas. So anyway, but I think PG's okay. But as far as Chip Kelly goes, I understand he doesn't have the complement of talent that he did at Ohio State. I get it. And the talent level he's going against in the NFL is much higher than he did in college. All right. Get all that out of the way. But his inability to adapt to what his players do best on this team, and I know that the offensive line is not good, so that hinders a lot what you can do. But his inability to adapt to what the strength of the team should be, which should be giving the rock to Ashton Genty 25 times a game, that's a problem. If he watches Geno Smith's best years in Seattle, what is Geno Smith doing? He's running the offense from under center. It's running the ball and then play action. That's what it is. What have we seen predominantly from this team? It's been out of the shotgun like Geno's back at West Virginia. And you said he's not a bust, but if he would have went in the first round, Derek, I don't think there'd be any debate about him being considered a bust.
Yeah,
he would
that's
be.
fair.
Even with the late career resurgence, it'd be like, wow, that was a real big whiff by the Jets. So I think a lot of the blame falls on Geno Smith. I think a lot of the blame also falls on John Spytek, actually, for not addressing the holes in the offensive line. I think those are the two biggest culprits right now. Not that John Spytek is going to do a bad job. I think he did a fine job in his role in Tampa Bay. And I do wonder how much input he had into the quarterback situation, because you see these reports every once in a while that Tom Brady liked Geno Smith over maybe Sam Darnold or other guys. That being said, maybe Sam Darnold looks like not as bad as Geno Smith, but maybe he doesn't look good behind this offensive line either.
No.
So John Spytek, I think, needs to get to work in terms of identifying what kind of players they need on the offensive line. And Chip Kelly needs to go, okay, I don't have the best offensive line in the world, but you know what I do have? I have a lot of size and weight. So let's run the ball from under center and more power scheme, more power concepts, more combo blocking, and just see if you can spring Ashton Genty. Because otherwise, putting Geno in the shotgun 35 times a game, that ain't going to get it done.
No, I agree. And I think that they just try to do a lot of quick fixes. They were in the running to trade for Matthew Stafford, and I have no idea how that would look right now. Yeah, they maybe were in, the free agency sweepstakes for Sam Darnold, but Sam Darnold will not be very good right now with this offensive line. It was a great situation with him in Seattle right now with Clint Kubiak. But yeah, I mean, Pete knew Geno. Geno's more of a aggressive quarterback. He's boom or bust. He could throw 4 touchdowns in a game or throw 4 interceptions, but it's just nothing right now. He's getting no passing yards. He's getting no protection. Yeah, it looks bad. And I would like to think that John Spytek is promising as a general manager, because I just hear him in interviews and he sounds like the right guy. He sounds like the guy that has enough experience, being in Denver with John Elway, or, Tampa Bay with Jason Light. So he has experience playing, or, finding talent and working with GMs that know how to find talent and experienced quarterbacks. So I understand why, if you don't have a quarterback in this league, then you have no chance. So they prioritized that. They went and got Geno Smith for a 3rd-round pick, and then everything else was like, all right, we'll see how it goes. The offensive line has not improved. Receiving core did not improve. Secondary, I think, is just okay. They got a flashy guy from college in Ashton Genty, who is a great player, but you need to have the right offensive line to block for him. So I don't know. I think that they prioritized the wrong things. And you could say, well, there's a lot of rookies on this defense. Robert Saleh is getting the best out of the 49ers defense right now. And maybe John Lynch just drafted better than John Spytek. But yeah, it's just disappointing. Like what Pat H said in the chat here earlier. How could you have a rebuild every single year with this team? And it feels, I mean, yeah, like it just feels that way. How can a team be in a rebuild every season? And the truth is, there is no rebuild. They were trying to win. And people say, like, well, tear it down already. I don't know if you need to tear it down. Like I said, they were trying to do quick fixes on defense. It was a mix of, inexperienced players and rookies, or veterans that might be over the hill. I don't know about Jamal Adams anymore. I don't know about Devin White as at linebacker. I don't know about. They got rid of Jermaine Pratt, but now he's landed on his feet with the Colts, and he might thrive in a Lou Anarumo system that he was used to with the Cincinnati Bengals. But yeah, I think that they haven't really built around their guys. Like, they have great players in Max Crosby and Genty and Brock Bowers, but that's about it at this point. So when you look at the other teams, the AFC West, they drafted their quarterbacks. They did not go for quick fixes. Sean Payton, tried it out with Russell Wilson that first season. He was like, all right, this is not my guy. Drafted Bo Nix. The Chargers a long time ago, they could have gone after Tom Brady. Instead, they went with Justin Herbert. I think the Raiders, I don't know when, because I don't know about this quarterback draft class coming up, but they need to find their guy. Even when they found Geno Smith, my opinion was, okay, he's the guy for right now, and maybe they'll be competitive. But for the long haul, they need to find their quarterback. And they still have the best defensive player in all of football in their division. You could make the argument that Myles Garrett's better or Michael Parsons, but Max Crosby is hands down the best defensive player in the AFC West. And I know there's rumors around trading him. I would hang on to him. I know that, the latest report from Tom Pelissero is he doesn't want to go anywhere. In past years, he's let it be known that he's a little frustrated with the team, but he wants to be a Raider for life. You got to find a way where the defense is led by that guy, and you're not having these, like if the offense is inept, then fine. The offense is inept, but build around the defense. Then have this defense be the mainstay of your team, and you just need to get more around him. So my biggest things for the Raiders are you got to build up the offensive line, you got to build up the receiving core, and you got to build up the secondary, and find your quarterback for the long-term future and make sure that Max Crosby is happy, because you sign him to a contract and everything's fine for right now, but you never know when the offseason comes. There might be a better situation. Like I thought a year ago with the Detroit Lions with Aiden Hutchinson down and him being a Detroit guy, that might be a good situation if Detroit's willing to give you a bounty of picks. But you can't let this wither away. You have one of the best defenders in all of football. And just last point, Alon, before I throw to you, he might be the best Raider defender of all time. Like he's that talented. And I know that in years past, I said Khalil Mack was that much more talented, and I still think that he is in some ways. I never seen a player like that emulates Lawrence Taylor as much as Khalil Mack, and just his strength, just picking up offensive linemen with just one bicep. But I was watching football with my pops a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you heard the story. I brought it up with Steven. We were watching, and my dad says to me, I think when it's all said and done, you might say that Max Crosby is the best Raider defender of all time. And I said, next to Howie Long, next to Greg Townsend, next to all these guys. And he was like, yes, just because of his ability. He is Ted Hendricks out there at defensive end. Mm-hmm. He's able to bat down passes. I mean, it was the game against the Bears where he was a one-man wrecking crew, and they still lost that game. So it's just frustrating. He is a all-time great player. And you found him, in the 4th round or 5th round because of Mike Mayock? Like, people give Mayock shit, but he found that guy. That wasn't a Gruden guy. That was a Mayock guy. So, I don't know. I'm just frustrated as a very, divided Raider fan, or just a torn Raider fan, I should say, where, I'm not as invested as I used to be. I don't care as much because they're not in Las Vegas, but I still bleed silver and black, and it upsets me that this team has not made any progress whatsoever.
So, yeah, I heard actually Hondo Carpenter, who covers the Raiders out here for Sports Illustrated, he said something really interesting. He said there's very few players in the league that are as big or even bigger than their franchise in terms of their value to the franchise. He said Max Crosby's one of them. And I totally agree with that point. Like, Max Crosby is the Raiders right now. Not just that, but he might actually be bigger than the Raiders in terms of, like, if you got rid of him, there was a revolt after Khalil Mack, but John Gruden was there to kind of like soothe everybody in a way. That ain't happening now. And there were still people who were mad about that, even with Gruden back.
I'm still mad about it.
Yeah, no, I know. But, he said maybe the only other player he could think of was Patrick Mahomes being a guy who's bigger than the franchise, or as big as the franchise. And that's not a negative thing. It just means those players are super valuable to that franchise. So, yeah, I think you got to build around Crosby. Crosby seems like he's going to stay put as well. In terms of him being the best Raider defender of all time, for a long time I was like, man, Khalil Mack has that that ranking, but they're different. And Max does things that Khalil Mack doesn't do. And Max Crosby, when he's healthy, makes an impact every single play. And his ability to slash through the line and be able to just consistently make tackles for loss, it's incredible. So we know how good he is. I agree with your father. He's probably will be the best Raider defender of all time. I have a soft spot in my heart for Charles Woodson, but that's because he plays cornerback, and I'm biased towards corners. But Max Crosby's amazing. But yeah, they need to build this team up, and I agree with all the points you said. The receiving core needs help. I'm still a proponent of building from the trenches first. If you address that makes everything else look a whole hell of a lot better. And I want to see John Spytek be given some time. Part of me does wonder, though. He was part of the team that brought in Baker Mayfield in Tampa, right? Mm-hmm. So if he had the wherewithal and the knowledge to say, hey, Baker's still got some left in the tank, why did they either not go after a guy like Baker, or why didn't they try to draft a guy like Baker in my opinion, Jackson Dart was there for the taking. And I know that he ended up getting drafted late in the first round. And maybe they didn't want to do, even though this team is a fan of quick fixes, they didn't want to trade up to back into the first round to get him after they got Genty. But, regarding quarterbacks, you said all the teams in the AFC West have drafted their quarterback. I think this is an important point to make here. The Chargers love Justin Herbert. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, obviously they love him. I don't know if the Broncos love Bo Nix.
Yeah, that is fair.
But Sean Payton drafted Bo Nix because he knew it was an upgrade at the position. They knew that was going to make them better. So they're not married to Bo Nix, but Bo Nix will be there as long as he is good for them until they find someone better. I think the Raiders for a long time, because of the coaches that they have. So John Gruden, I think, is a guy who's like, give me any quarterback, similar to Josh McDaniels. Give me any quarterback, and I can coach them in my scheme and make them good. But they're not going to draft someone high unless they're absolutely in love with them. I think that's such a flawed model. I think if you have a need at the position, you treat it like every other position. Just try to get better there. And the Raiders have neglected to do that since Derek Carr. They've neglected to pick someone that will just get them better at the position. So people say, oh, this draft class, like you were saying it, and it's true. This draft class is weak on quarterbacks. Yeah, from a statistical standpoint in college football right now, it is. But it doesn't mean there's not talented players for teams like the Raiders that can make them better at the position. Biased here, but Ty Simpson, he's only thrown one interception all season for Alabama. He was the number 1 ranked or number 2 ranked dual threat quarterback coming out of high school. He has all the skills. And I can't think of too many other teams besides Alabama that run their entire offense like a pro-style offense. I mean, he's making checks at the line, calling out protections, doing all those kinds of things. So there are guys who are ready for the NFL and who do have skills. And if you're a team like the Raiders who's just reeling at the quarterback position, you need to – it doesn't matter if you think, oh, this guy's a generational prospect like Justin Herbert or like Trevor Lawrence. And look how that's worked out. Trevor Lawrence is good, but it's inconsistent. So you just got to get better at the position. And I think the Raiders are one of those franchises that have not treated the quarterback position in that fashion. Instead, they've said, we either got to get the guy who's we think is generational, surefire talent, or they just don't draft it and they neglect it and they wait for later rounds. And you end up with guys like Aiden O'Connell, who's a fine backup. But that's the situation they're in right now. So I would actually emulate the Broncos model because I definitely think they chose Bo Nix because they're like, we need to get better here, and he's the best guy available. So treat it like every other position. Just get better at it, and you're not attached to a guy. Like, I'm sure if the Niners right now found someone that they liked way more than Brock Purdy, they would have no hesitation in drafting him and then having a competition down the line, especially with Purdy's injury problems lately. I'm not saying they would instantly usurp him, but what I'm saying is they would constantly try to get better at the position. They just would.
No, I hear you on that, but it's hard when they give him the contract. I don't know, like that will be a sticky point in the offseason if Mac Jones is still on the team. But I hear you, Alon. Like, the Raiders have not pulled the trigger on a quarterback. Like Dave Ziegler wanted to trade for C.J. Stroud, and that was easier said than done. But Josh McDaniels was like, no, I'm not into that. No. So. Yeah, like I get it. Like there was nobody that enticed them in the draft process this year. I don't know if they like Jackson Dart, but Tom Brady and everybody involved, Sean Spytek, were like, let's just get a quarterback. Let's trade for a quarterback that's unhappy right now. Geno knows Pete. Pete loves Geno. Let's bring him in, and it just has not worked out. As far as, Max Crosby is the best Raider defender of all time conversation, I hear my dad on that, and I value his opinion. I still have to see it because I still think there's, better players in Raider history. Like I love Charles Woodson, and Charles Woodson to me will be my favorite Raider player of all time, but it was just a different impact. I think that you have to say a pass rusher or a linebacker in their history. So Khalil Mack to me was the best athlete I've seen play, for the Raiders, but it wasn't as consistent, causing havoc to the opposing offense where Max Crosby does that consistently. But yeah, dude, I'm with you on Bo Nix as well. I think that he's a good quarterback, not a great quarterback. It's really more Sean Payton to me than Bo Nix. I think that, you listen to Sean Payton talk, and he always says, Bo Nix was our guy the entire draft process. And I'm not buying that. He could have gone with a better quarterback.
Sure.
He just knows that he can that Bo Nix can do what he wants to do, and he plays to his strengths. It's a lot of bubble screens and zero routes, but if they want to go to the next level, Bo Nix needs to be just as good as Justin Herbert or Patrick Mahomes. He has a great defense. The Broncos probably have the best defense in the AFC West. They just probably have, the second to last worst quarterback, and that's not saying a lot these days when Geno Smith's throwing for 67 yards against the Chiefs. Anyway.
Oh, real quick, Derek.
Yeah,
so I do want to address some. So Ernie said Purdy catching strays. I'm not dissing Purdy. I think Purdy's a fine quarterback. I'm talking more about the organizational operating procedure of the Niners. I'm just saying that they are a team that operates through that mantra or method of we're always trying to get better at every single position. And I'm not saying they would usurp Purdy and, especially after paying him and they'd bring someone else in. And Mac Jones is not that guy either. But I am saying this. They are not scared of drafting talent wherever they think they can get better. They're not worried about that. That's why you saw, how many teams in the NFL would have stayed with a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo? A ton would have with the team success they had. The Niners are not that kind of team. They will constantly draft players, even at positions that they have secured, just to get better.
No, I'm with you on that one. I think that, it's just the mindset that Kyle Shanahan has of I never want to be in the same situation as the 2022 NFC Championship game where Josh Johnson comes in, and then once he gets hurt, I'm shit out of luck where I have Christian McCaffrey at quarterback. So I always want to have depth at the quarterback position. I don't fault him for that. And then I see AJ Cruz on the chat here saying Bo Jackson's mine as far as greatest Raider athletes. I'm saying as far as a defender that Khalil Mack's the greatest athlete I've seen as far as a Raider defensive player. But yeah, Bo Jackson was unbelievable back in the day at running back for them. Also playing baseball. Let's switch over to college football for a second, Alon. First and foremost, who do you think is the best team right now? Is it Ohio State at number one, or do you think that because the way of the new CFP where we have a lot more teams with losses that it's just kind of up in the air right now?
I think the best team right now, de facto, it has to be Ohio State. They've been very impressive so far this season. They're the defending national champions. I can't, until something changes, they should be number one. I think A&M's really good. I don't have any problems with A&M. I think Indiana with Fernando Mendoza, which has got to make Bay Area people a little pissed. Obviously, they're probably rooting for him because, hey, he's doing really well, but he was so good at Cal. So it'd be nice to still have him over at the Cal Memorial. But
yeah,
I think Indiana's ranking is earned because they've been able to beat Illinois, beat the crap out of them. But I mean, Alabama's just waiting in the wings. Alabama's a completely different team since week one.
I was waiting for you to say that.
Oh, yeah. They're really good. That being said, they still have a bit of a gauntlet to get through. But the fact that they've been able to get through 4 SEC-ranked teams 4 weeks in a row, and we all got to smoke cigars after beating the shit out of Tennessee. I love it. Ohio State's the number one team in the country. I think Georgia is still waiting there too. Georgia only has one problem. They just can't beat Bama. So if Georgia figures that out, then Georgia should be able to handle anybody else. But yeah, I would say teams that I think are the best right now, Ohio State's up there. I have to put Indiana up there until I can't. Alabama's waiting right there. A&M is there. Georgia's there. And then, you're probably looking at a mixture between what 1 or 2 loss SEC team do you like Ole Miss. You're also looking at, I would actually say it's kind of top heavy right now in college football. Texas, I think a lot of people would like them to be up there, but just because not right now. Yeah. But going into the season, it was like, hey, Texas is very good, right? And they are. They're good.
There was a lot of hype because of Arch Manning and his last name.
Yes, because exactly. And unfortunately for them, he still needs development time. That's just the way it is. And
which concerns the hell out of me.
Or there's a talent issue there, and a lot of it's riding on the coattails of the name. So it's one thing or the other. But because they're not up there, it leaves this log jam between spot 6 and 9. So yeah, that's the thing. But I think Ohio State's the best team in the country. I don't think there's a debate there, in my opinion.
No, I'm with you on that one. Have you warmed up to Kalen DeBoer a little bit more?
Yeah, of course.
Well, yeah, he's
when
winning now, dude.
especially when he wears that black hoodie. I had major problems with him last season, and I texted a lot of my friends, talked to a lot of my friends who I either went to Bama with or Bama fans, and I was just like, this guy is going to need to understand that this is a whole different game than it was in the Pac-12 or when he was at Fresno State or anywhere else. This is different, and he needs to understand that you need to run the damn ball. So he still hasn't gotten that part through his head completely yet, but they've done a lot better job on the ground. The defense is also a whole hell of a lot better under Kane Womack now than it was in year one. I still think at the start of the season, I think he had a problem getting the team ready in certain aspects, not because he's a bad coach, just because when you're the coach of Alabama, you're going to get everybody's best. And I think, this is not Fresno, Vita Blue. That's a good one, rocking. But I think he's now realized, okay, every week is a big game. Doesn't matter who we're playing, because he hasn't had a problem against ranked teams. It's been against the teams that they should beat. But now it looks like that's hopefully sorted out. This is a trap game today in terms of teams you should beat against South Carolina. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think he's bought himself some more goodwill. And if they keep winning, then everything changes. I mean, it would be kind of magical if they were able to make a run to the championship and win it, because it'd be like, wow, what a tale of 2 years. First year, everybody's like, this guy's got to get the hell out of here. Next year, building a statue of him.
Exactly. Just real quick, what do you think about Texas right now? Because you like you mentioned, there was a ton of hype going into the season because of Arch, and last year Texas went to the college football playoff with Quinn Ewers. I think they're going to be that much better, and they are defensively.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I want to give this kid the benefit of the doubt. And if he's that good, if he's the number one recruit, and you expect him to be the number one draft pick in the NFL draft, in a few years, shouldn't he be better than what he is right now? And I know that, it takes time with some kids and, the development and whatnot, but he just looks lost. Like he did enough in that game against Oklahoma. I think it really was the defense carrying them. And the same thing last week against Kentucky. So it may just be where he's just not ready to play in the SEC, and he still needs a lot more development from Sark, and we'll see if Sark sticks around. I'll get to that in a little bit here, but it's been underwhelming from Arch Manning so far. I know that he's not coming out. He will not be the consensus number one pick next season. But man, I was hoping to see a lot more, just raw talent right away.
Yeah, I was expecting more. I was expecting more of what we saw in flashes last year when he would come on for Quinn Ewers, whether the game was a blowout or Quinn was hurt. I was expecting more with his arm. I think we all know that he's the Manning that can run. That's great. But is he also the Manning that can think and throw?
Yes.
And we haven't seen that part of his game fully catch up yet. So, yeah, he does need more development. I was expecting more, not to the and you weren't either, Derek, to the ESPN levels of hype. I mean, that was just totally overblown and unfair to him. But yeah, he needs more time. He needs more development. It's amazing that defense is better, especially after losing a couple players in the draft on that defense. Mm-hmm. But they're lights out. I think his big thing is he needs to say, okay, well, I'm still very mobile. Maybe I need to bring more of that into my game before I'm comfortable, sitting back there and doing what like Uncle Peyton did. But it's interesting to watch because Peyton Manning tore it up at Tennessee, right? And then he got to the NFL and just was not very good for that first year and a half. Arch Manning, it's like he's not Tennessee Peyton. He's first year Indy Peyton right now, and it's not that bad. But he's not seeing the game the way that he should see it. Is what
I'll tell you what. I wish it was rookie Peyton Manning, because at least Peyton Manning threw for like 26 touchdowns. 28 interceptions.
Yeah, he did have a lot of picks.
I would love to see some gunslinger mentality from Arch, but he doesn't even he's getting by with kind of Geno Smith numbers sometimes, where it's 9 of 21 for 115 yards. We had the defense kept him in the game to win 16-13. So, and Peyton had a rough time his first season as a true starter for Tennessee. Same thing with Eli at Ole Miss. But yeah, man, in today's overhyped sports media, we're never going to give anybody the benefit of the doubt. Some people are saying that Arch is already a bust. I'm not going to say that, but you thought it would be a little bit better than what we're seeing. There's glimpses of of talent. Like against Florida, there were some throws where like, all right, nice. Even week 1 against Ohio State, for the most part, it was terrible. But there was one touchdown throw in particular where I was like, all right, Arch, but it's going to be a process with him. I want to get your thoughts on the state of college coaches, though, because we see a lot of coaches fired during the season. James Franklin, Billy Napier has been fired. Mike Gundy, famous for his quote 20 years ago with Oklahoma State. I'm a man, I'm 40. But just what do you think about, like, right now, who would you say is the best coach in all of college football?
Ooh, that's a good question.
And I know it's changed because so many coaches have either retired and Nick Saban or jumped ship. Some people would say maybe Dabo Sweeney, but I told you a couple of weeks ago that that press conference of his after they lost to was it Syracuse, where he was just like, "Look at my accolades." I was like, "All right, dude, you're nauseating me." Right now, who's the best coach out there?
Can't point to the pelts on the wall.
Exactly.
Kalen DeBoer's up there. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Ryan Day. I mean, maybe Ryan Day.
He gets a lot of shit, but you should definitely give him some kudos.
Ryan Day for sure. Kalen DeBoer's in that top 5 range. I would say Dan Lanning, what he's been able to do at Oregon has been very impressive. I would love to put a guy like Sark because he has turned Texas around, but Sark's up there. Sark's in the top 10. There's no doubt about that. That's how far up he can go. Lane Kiffin, same type of deal. The problem is just they're not able to get over the hump with him yet. But yeah,
Kirby.
Kirby, Kirby's the best coach. Yeah, I don't know why I forgot about Kirby. Kirby Smart's the best coach in college football. That's my opinion. So it's probably Kirby, Ryan Day, and then you're looking at a little bit of a logjam between 3 and 5.
Well, what do you think of Kurt Cignetti right now as Indiana's head coach?
Yes, Kurt Cignetti over at Indiana. He's an interesting story. So he's a Saban disciple. He was on Nick Saban's staff at Alabama, and then he went and coached, I think, Division II college football. And then ends up, and everyone's like, "Are you sure you want to leave Bama for that?" He's like, "No, I want to be a head coach." And so he does. And then he ends up going to Indiana now, and he's made Indiana like a good football school, which is kind of amazing. So
the most impressive win of the year so far is Indiana going into Oregon and beating them, in my opinion.
That was huge. So Kurt Cignetti's up there as well. Currently, he's probably, I would put him over Sarkisian right now. And he's probably somewhere in that like 4 to 5 range, along with Lane Kiffin or guys like that. So Dabo is in that top 10 too, but it's literally because of the pelts on the wall. And
exactly.
That's the problem with him right now. Bill Belichick is a great coach, but he's not a great coach this year.
I'll tell you, man, I went to the Cal UNC game last Friday, and just to see the student section chant high school girlfriend to Belichick, and I'm like, why is he doing this? Like, and that's a whole separate thing, whether you want to judge him on that, but just the fact that he's coaching college football, and it's not going well. There's a lot of stuff off the field, I guess, and I understand why he wants to do this. It's a passion project for him with his dad being an assistant with UNC back in the day, but I'm just like watching a game between the Cal Bears and North Carolina, and it's Bill Belichick as head coach. And I'm like, man, I understand the NFL may have passed him by, not in the sense that he couldn't coach today, but just the owners are fed up with him. But it's just so weird to see, him coach this college program that eventually could be good in the ACC, but I don't think they'll ever be a juggernaut when it comes to college football.
Yeah, no, it's weird. It's weird to watch, and they do have to give Bill Belichick time, and they have to give Lombardi time too. I mean, they're taking a program. It's similar. It's not as bad as the Deion situation when he went and took over Colorado, but it wasn't a great situation either. So they have to.
By the way, just sorry to cut you off. Just real quick. Look, Pablo Torre does a fantastic job with some of his reporting. Even though I make fun of him sometimes for being a tattletale, but he does. He is, but he does like, true journalism, but I don't understand him going after Michael Lombardi as much as he is these past few days. Like it's a little much to me. He's calling out his resume. Like I understand that some people don't like Michael Lombardi, but like the way he's going after him, I'm like, what is really the journalism here?
I don't know, and I'm not familiar with Pablo Torre been going after Lombardi the last couple days, but that's fascinating to me. But Lombardi's like low hanging fruit. A lot of people like going after him.
Yeah, they do. What Pablo's saying is that he, built himself up as this guy that was in the 49ers organization when they were winning championships, when he was kind of low level and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, a lot of guys do that in media. Like, a lot of guys just kind of lie about their resume. It's not that, like, Michael Lombardi, like, yeah, kind of a weird dude. I think he's no nonsense. He worked with the Raiders back in the day, but he was Belichick's right-hand man when it came to the Browns and the Patriots. And yeah, he's the GM. He's running things in North Carolina. It's not going smoothly. The same thing with a lot of coaches right now in their first year. Same thing with Pete Carroll right now. But I just think it's kind of unwarranted. But as far as college coaches, you saw James Franklin get fired, and he, explained everything on College Game Day last week. I wonder about, where he would land, maybe at Florida. I do wonder now that the Florida job is open. We brought this up, me and Steven. In the offseason, John Gruden met with a lot of teams. He always gets stuff sent from college programs. I think he met with Arkansas and told them in a meeting, I want to coach the SEC next year. And I think that it's going to be very difficult for Gruden to get back in the NFL, given the lawsuit and everything, and going after Goodell. But with, him kind of being reborn again as this fun, goofy coach that, we saw Monday Night Football, but all the nicey videos, the Barstool audience that kind of goes towards college football. I wouldn't be surprised if you see John Gruden at Florida as head coach next year.
I would love to see that. I think Florida would be a great fit for him too. I think it's the perfect type of institution where there's definitely passion, there's tradition, there's a lot of money behind you as well. So they're not going to have an issue getting you the players that you need to get, especially in today's era. But it's also a program that needs rebuilding. It needs to be built. I'm not saying it needs to be rebuilt. It just needs to be built. And that takes a coach 2 to 3 years in college football, even with the transfer portal still. So I think that'd be really fun to watch. I think he has a good chance of getting one of these head coaching jobs in college football, and it'll be the job that he wants. I mean, it's going to be very hard for a college program to say no to him. The SEC's perfect. They're not going to have any qualms about, just be honest about it. They don't have any qualms about his email history or things that he said in the past. They don't give a crap about that. So, and it's college. Like, college has no morals when it comes to hiring head coaches either. So, another good thing for Gruden there. And Gruden's, by all accounts, all the players who's ever played for him say, like, I love this guy. He's one of my favorite people ever, and he loves everybody, and he's just a football freak. So, I think that'd be really fun. But as far as overall the coaching landscape in college football, you have James Franklin get fired, and for cause. I mean, it was a little weird that they did it in the middle of the season, but it deservedly so needed to be fired from Penn State, because Penn State is like, we're so good. We've had all these good players, and yet we're 1-15 against ranked teams. And that's a major issue. That's a huge blemish. I'm surprised James Franklin didn't get fired last year. But that being said, he's going to land on his feet somewhere. I don't think he should go to the SEC. I think he should maybe go to the ACC if there's an opening somewhere or something like that. But we've seen a lot of different coaches get fired. Billy Napier, obviously, of Florida. Mike Gundy over at Oklahoma State. I'm a man.
Would it be the least bit surprised if Mike Norvell's fired in the next couple of weeks here, if Florida still, starts to slide a little bit more?
Yeah, he could very well get fired as well. We saw Sam Pittman get fired at Arkansas. We've seen UCLA fire their coach. That's actually worked out for them. Stanford fired Troy Taylor. Jay Norvell got fired at Colorado State. I mean, Trent Dilfer got fired at UAB. The Mighty Blazers got rid of Trent Dilfer. I mean, how could you? So, all these guys are getting fired left and right, and it's only going to keep picking up. I think it was very weird to have James Franklin go on College Football Game Day and do like a sit down. That was odd to me, but it was also, maybe, I don't know whose idea it was, but it was kind of nice in a way, because he did get the shaft, and although a lot of it was deserved, he doesn't deserve all the personal attacks, and he's not a good coach or anything like that. He is a good coach. It just didn't work out at Penn State against ranked teams for whatever case. So I think that there's still going to be a lot of spots. I think a lot of these coaches are going to land back on their feet. I think what some of these programs have to be a little wary of is doing the dance of the lemons, where you get someone from a program and it didn't work out for them, and you think it'll work out for you at your program with them. So that's kind of the mark on James Franklin. As far as the other college coaches, like, the wagons are circling around and they're getting the defenses ready at Ole Miss, because anytime good coaching jobs come open, i.e. Florida, everybody's like, ooh, Lane Kiffin. And Ole Miss does everything they can to make sure that they can keep him. Then there's also a few other coaches who would be more than willing to get back into the game. One being Ed Orgeron. He could very well try to get back into a good coaching job. And who knows, maybe he'll end up at LSU again if they ever decide to fire Brian Kelly.
Which could be going in that direction this offseason. Not to mention, this morning, Diana Rossini has a report that Steve Sarkisian is open to leaving Texas to go entertain NFL coaching jobs. He let it be known through NFL circles that he would listen to NFL job openings. And that has been debunked since. Tom Pelissero has reached out to attorneys that represent Steve Sarkisian, and he says, I'm fully invested in Texas right now. I don't know why this is out there, because Sark has been tight at the hip with Arch, and if he leaves early, that sets Arch back immensely. So if that's true, I mean, you're always going to listen. I'm surprised the Dallas Cowboys didn't interview Sarkisian last year, because I thought they'd be interested in some regard. But if he jumps ship, then I think that Arch Manning would probably go into the transfer portal and not want to be a Texas Longhorn anymore, because he's a big reason why he went there. He could have gone someplace else. He sat behind Quinn Ewers, and it seems that Sark really needs to help him out. So if Sark jumps to the NFL, I think that's a bad situation for Texas, even though I don't think he's that amazing as a head coach. And also, I don't think the NFL is that interested in Steve Sarkisian. I really don't. I think that I think this is out there just to like get his name out there. But I think that if it was more impressive with his time at Texas, then teams would be lining up to interview him. But you have to look at his stuff in the past. It's different in college football. He had success with Alabama. He had success with USC and Washington for a brief time. There was the unfortunate situation with him having a drinking problem. And, it's good that he laid it on his feet and now is the head coach of Texas. But just because he had a couple good seasons after Kyle Shanahan left the Atlanta Falcons to be head coach of the 49ers, he filled in as Falcons OC. And he was okay, but nothing amazing. So I don't think the teams will be lining up to have Steve Sarkisian be their head coach.
Is that the kind of... Yeah, it's tough. He has cleaned everything up. He's landed on his feet, like you said. He's had success in different stops. But yeah, if you're an NFL team, are you going, that's the guy we need to right the ship here? That's the guy who's going to instill a new culture. And it's like, I don't think so, because he has more resources than any other team in college football. And I don't care what Ohio State says with their NIL collective. Texas has no excuses every season, right? Because of the resources that they have. And they have a very good team, and they've had good teams, and he's gotten close. And I'm not saying he needs to win a national championship, but you just haven't seen him run a dominant program. It's been very frenetic. It's been hot streaks that have gotten them to where they are under his leadership, is what I'm saying. It's not been like, holy crap, the Texas Longhorns are coming. We know they're good. They're always good. But man, Sark, he always finds a way to make some of these games way too close. And that's the problem with him. And I see a lot of NFL teams being like, it's not like Jim Harbaugh close, where it's like, okay, that's just a style they play. It's like, what are you guys doing playing with your food here? You should be blowing
exactly
out.
And, I was talking to Mike Silver about this yesterday, where what kind of coaches are owners looking for these days? Do they want a hotshot young offensive coordinator, or do they want a leader of men? And he thinks it's more leader of men. And, you're still going to have those guys like Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur that are great play callers, but they really command a room. And you're seeing some guys like Mike McDaniel not do that. Ben Johnson's the guy that commands a room. I think it's the Dan Campbell effect. I think it's kind of cheesy to say, but I do think it's kind of the Ted Lasso-fication of sports now, where you have a younger or just a different generation of players coming into professional sports. And it's good to have guys that build you up with positivity instead of just break you down. And you want the guys that relate to the players these days. So I don't think that just because Sark is good in college calling plays, that means anything at the NFL level. So speaking of all that, with coaches that are positive and try to build guys up, the San Francisco Giants made a very intriguing move, hiring Tony Vitello as their new manager, and talked about it on the radio. I think that the reaction so far has been positive because it's Buster Posey making the call. I think if Farhan Zaidi made this call, people would hate it. But it's Buster. You trust in Buster. Totally get it. And this guy's interesting. He is, he's a leader of young men, and now he needs to be a leader of men, of guys that have, multi-million-dollar contracts. He has great speeches. He holds himself accountable for mistakes he makes. He calls out the media. He has these long press conferences that are equal parts, very inspiring, but also at the same time, questioning what is success really. And I would say, yeah, that's cool, but also, success is pretty clear. And the major league ranks, like, you need to win World Series, you need to compete with the Dodgers and the Padres now. But Tony Vitello, you don't know him personally, but you know about him very well because you call college baseball a lot. So I want to get your thoughts on the San Francisco Giants' unique move.
I love it. I think it's a really good move. I think Vitello is a good choice. It is unprecedented, obviously. I mean, it's the first guy ever to just, with no MLB coaching experience, just boom, you're in there. He's not a former MLB, he's not like a catcher or anything. Like, that's the new wave of coaches. Yeah. That's the leader of men phase right now in MLB, where we're seeing all these catchers get these jobs. But I really like it. I know quite a few players who were able to play for him, specifically between 2020 and 2024. So none of them had anything bad to say about him. Kavares Tears, in fact, who was in the Padres organization, absolutely tearing it up. I remember when he was really young, he's still young, but a couple of years ago, talking to him about what it's like at Tennessee. And he just said, this guy is really good at communicating with the players, and he cares about development. And talking to some of the other people, like, there was a pitcher, for instance, that I know pretty well. His name's Hollis Fanning. His college career is over, but 6'8" righty, throws about 96 miles an hour, 95 miles an hour, has a great two-seam fastball, pounds the strike zone. Why isn't this guy in Major League Baseball? Guy's blind in one eye, but he's talented, right? And Tony Vitello has found ways to develop players and rebuild or raise the bar in Tennessee. That's what they used to say under his leadership. And they've been able to do it. I think one of the great things about him that is so interesting, and I don't know how well it'll translate to MLB, he's a very big proponent of not talking at players, but communicating with them and talking with them. Mm-hmm. So he's like, I could just sit there and talk to them, but I need to find ways to relate to these guys, especially younger players. So he's like, hey, maybe I show them, a video or a podcast or whatever to try to get through. So I think he's very big on communication. And over the course of a 162 game season, I think that's really important. And I think that's one of the problems that Bob Melvin maybe had in the locker room, is he wasn't able to consistently get his message through. Also, I think he's very rigid in terms of what his plan is for games. And we see that with a lot of managers. All that being said, I think one of the things that they're going to need to do, the Giants are, with Tony Vitello, is to make sure that they're able to have young players that they can develop, because I don't know what he looks like with a team full of veterans. And obviously you're always going to have a big mix of veterans in MLB. That's just the way rosters are constructed. But I think if you can Bob Melvin had no emotions. I agree, Rockin' New Era. He's just not a big emotional guy. He never has been. And when he got ejected, it was like, whoa, what's happening? But I think Tony Vitello is one of those guys that you need to get young players in there that he likes, and that talent-wise he likes, and he's able to grow with them. I think the other thing that's very interesting about Tony Vitello is he was able to turn Tennessee around by not being philosophically rigid in how they wanted to play the game. Yes, there's things you're always going to want to do. Be good up the middle defensively, because then the rest of your defense is good. Have some good hitters like Blake Burke and things like that. But in different seasons, they have played the game, especially on the base paths, in different fashions. Like in 2019, they led all Power 5 conference teams with stolen bases. So I think he is very good at finding every single edge he can in order to make your team more competitive and better. And if you're in an NL West with the Dodgers, who are down 0-1 now, but if you're in the NL West with the Dodgers, you need to find every single little competitive edge you can. So
even just being like, hey, we're going to be more aggressive on the base paths, that could be something that helps you in the short term and the long term. So I think he's very good at identifying things that a team can get better at immediately and figuring out how to coach to the strengths of the team.
My biggest question is just how he's going to command a clubhouse. I think that guys will buy into him, but I think it's just a matter of, making bullpen changes or telling Rafael Devers, you're going here in the lineup tonight. It's just stuff that he has never dealt with before. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fascinating. I have to tell Giants fans, like, temper your expectations. It all depends on what happens this offseason. But, if you're expecting him to, turn the ship around just in one season, I'd say that's probably unlikely. I think this is a long-term thing. I see it already with Giants fans. If you lose in June and July to the Dodgers and they want to fire the manager, I'm like, you need to pump the brakes on that because this is going to be a process. But it is interesting, and I like it because it's different. He'll be introduced this Thursday in a press conference. So yeah, we'll see what goes on with Tony Vitello, and we'll see what his coaching staff is going to look like. And you mentioned the Dodgers, Alon. We had a caller on our Dirty Work show the other day say that this is the alternative to what the Dodgers do with throwing a bunch of money at high-priced free agents. You have to build a farm system up. And I think that Buster Posey probably wants to go that route. He wants to find a guy that can be a good leader of men on the field, but also a guy that he can, use as as help as far as, finding talent, a guy that can, find the talent and also develop the talent. So it's going to be very interesting. But you mentioned the Dodgers. They're down 0-1. They lost last night to the Toronto Blue Jays. What was the final score? 11-4?
11-4. Real quick before we get into Dodgers, Derek, if you don't mind me asking, so I have an opinion on this, but do you think that hiring a guy like Vitello signals to the rest of the organization, but it's maybe like a solidification of the signal that, hey, we are going to be a younger MLB team. We're going to be a type of team that is more about getting the youth movement here and getting very good young players instead of trying to be top heavy like so many of the top teams in MLB are. I'm not saying they're constantly going to have the youngest players, but what I am saying is, hey, that's going to be the cornerstone of our team, like you said, with the farm system building up rather than always trying to go out externally and bring guys in.
Yeah, that probably is the case. I think that a lot of fans see prospects that have been called up. I'm not talking about Bryce Eldridge, but like guys in recent years that have been called up and it hasn't panned out. They want that to be a better system in place. So it doesn't mean that they'll stop looking at guys like Justin Verlander or Max Scherzer, who's good friends with Tony Vitello. It just means that, they probably want to be a younger, faster team that can compete with the Dodgers because they built it up with their farm system. Not so much let's overpay for, like they'll probably still always be in the mix for the Shohei Ohtanis of the offseason. I'm sure they'll sit down with Kyle Schwarber and he won't end up signing with them. But if they don't, then I think Buster wants to look to Zach Manassian and say, all right, well, let's move on then. I don't want to, say, oh, fuck, we missed out on being great because we didn't land Aaron Judge. We need to control what we can control. So I think that's what he wants to do with Tony Vitello in place. Your thoughts on the game last night, though? Everybody is picking the Dodgers to win. Even Giants fans, I think, have it be a foregone conclusion that they're going to win. I think there's a chance the Blue Jays can win the series. I'm picking the Blue Jays at 7. And after last night, I think there's a pretty good chance of it. But the Dodgers will probably, respond today. I would be surprised if they go to LA down 0-2. So what'd you think of last night's performance?
Actually predictable. Dodgers had the long layoff, and that's not good for teams to get their rhythm back in the batter's box. Toronto is very battle tested, and they came with a lot of rhythm and a lot of intensity. I know they were down early 2-0, but it was funny. I was on the phone with my brother, and he loves the Dodgers, and he was swearing me out for being like, dude, if a team's going to blow this game open in game 1, it's going to be Toronto, and it's going to be Toronto for those reasons. They're in rhythm. Number one, that's the first thing. So they're ready to go. They already have worked up a sweat. They're all lathered up and they're raring to go. But the other thing is
They have a very low whiff rate on pitches outside the zone, which is a massive part of how the Dodgers like to pitch. They have splitter heavy and slider heavy pitching staff. So that's a big issue for them right there. Toronto has a built-in advantage. The other thing Toronto does, and I'm not sure if they talked about it on the TV broadcast because I watched TV, but then listened to Boog Shambi's broadcast on the radio instead. They're very good at fouling away pitches and staying alive and make pitchers work. We saw that with Blake Snell early in the game. They have the ability. People are like, well, the Dodgers pitching is. I'm like, I know the Dodgers pitching is good, but what if you make the starter throw 70 pitches by inning number 4, and then you got to go to that bullpen? The bullpen's not used to pitching 4 or 5 innings, 3 innings even. They come in and pitch 1 or 2. So another thing that's an advantage for the Blue Jays. The last thing about the Blue Jays is I will say this. They are very good at not I've already said it, but they're very good at not swinging at pitches outside of the zone. And that's a major problem for the Dodgers pitching staff. They're also very good defensively, even with the limitation of Bo Bichette, although he had a great play last night when he turned around somehow and made that throw over to first. So, yeah, I thought it was predictable. All that being said, the Dodgers should be in rhythm now, but offensively, they have been lacking. And they need to figure out, okay, we can't just win these games 2-0, right? It's going to take more than 2 runs against Vladdy and the rest of the Blue Jays. So they're going to need to figure that out. But I think this is a buzzsaw matchup for the Dodgers. Not saying that they can't win it, but it's going to be more than just, oh, here's the big, bad, mighty Dodgers. The Blue Jays are a quick team. They're very good in the field. They have guys who don't strike out. That's a problem, no matter how good your pitching is. They're going to force the Dodgers pitching staff to try to overpower them, unless the Blue Jays all of a sudden become undisciplined at the plate, which I don't think they are. So what are the Dodgers pitchers going to have to do? Pound the freaking strike zone and hope that the Blue Jays don't hit it. That's tough. That's tough. When you're forced to play baseball that way, it makes it very difficult.
Yeah, and we'll see how the Dodgers respond. And Rockin mentions it in the chat here. We don't need him chant last night to Ohtani was awesome, given that Ohtani, the reports from our guy John Morosi, Bubba, saying that Ohtani was en route to sign with the Blue Jays, and come to find out he never was on a plane anywhere going to sign with the Blue Jays. But we'll see if the Blue Jays win. It'll be very interesting. I want to get your thoughts on the big news that happened the other day in the NBA. Nothing on the court. It was all off the court. And you live in Las Vegas where gambling is prevalent, obviously. And I don't think this is I don't think this is a gambling story. I think it's a cheating story. Yeah. It's a fixing game story. So the big news on Thursday morning, right after most of the league played on Wednesday night in the NBA, was Terry Rozier was arrested for his involvement in player props, where he was manipulating himself in games, taking himself out of games. And the NBA had their own investigation since 2023 and found nothing. And Adam Silver had to, find that last night. And I think the best way I heard this discussed was Marcus Thompson was on with us yesterday saying, you can fool the principal, but you can't fool your parents. So, you can, Terry Rozier can tell the NBA like, yeah, I did this, I got that. You can't issue subpoenas. You can't come after me. And then when the FBI is after you, it's a whole nother story. So that's where, the NBA, they want to make things go away. I don't think they really cared that much. Same thing with the Kawhi Leonard situation with aspiration. They don't really care that, Steve Ballmer paid him a shit ton of money under the table with a fake company. As long as he signs in LA, it's good for business. So Terry Rozier, he's in hot water. I don't know if he'll ever play basketball again in the NBA. As far as Chauncey Billups, this is an entirely different thing where he's involved in poker games involving the mafia. And this is some espionage shit. This is like some James Bond, Batman stuff where they brought in guys and had contact lenses where they could see through the cards. They had like wires and shit where they can fix these games. But the shady part is Chauncey Billups as a head coach is giving details to these mafia guys about Damian Lillard and other players on his team. So Chauncey Billups is a Hall of Famer, NBA Finals MVP with the Detroit Pistons, but his legacy is tarnished with this. He'll never coach for the Portland Trailblazers again. Funny enough, the Portland Trailblazers beat the Warriors last night, but the Warriors were coming off a fantastic win against the Nuggets, so I don't think they cared that much. But, some people are making a big deal out of this, like this could kill the NBA. And until like a huge player goes down, I don't think that's the case. I think that you're seeing a lot of speculation out there with guys posting clips of players in games reacting to what stuff the fans do, saying that that's like a gambling thing, and I don't think that's the case. Kevin Garnett, there's rumors of him being involved in these poker games. Until that's actually true, I'll wait to have an opinion on that. But even though that Thursday morning was a black eye to the league, I don't think this is going to crumble them because, let's face it, it's Terry Rozier, not the biggest name when it comes to the NBA. But when you have a head coach arrested for involvement with the mafia, that's not a good look.
No, it's horrible. So when this story hit, I was just like, what in the absolute hell is happening right now in the NBA? And so first of all, I didn't like how all the stories were bundled together because that actually made kind of following it confusing. It was like, wait a sec, what part is trying to shave points or rig player prop outcomes? What part is a gambling ring? It just happens to hit all at the same time. But let's start on the Chauncey thing. Did any of these guys learn lessons from Gilbert Arenas? Gilbert Arenas had a very similar issue and then went on his own stream and was like, ha, 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 I'm out. I got out of jail. Da, 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 da. You can't do nothing to me. And he was involved with allegedly with the Jewish mafia, and they were doing card games and stuff like that.
Right.
Chauncey Billups finding himself in the exact same situation, just with some group of Italian people. With the Italian mob. So that is a whole different thing and very foolish. His coaching career at all levels should be done if indeed it's all true. I think Gilbert's saying like a canary, rocket new era. But I think the more interesting aspect of this story is the Terry Rozier side, and as well as the Chauncey Billups giving a player update side. But the Terry Rozier side is very interesting because this guy has career earnings of what, $163 million? Yeah. And he's deciding to rig player props on himself for what, a couple extra $100,000? I understand probably, hey, my buddies want to bet on this. I can figure out a way to get everybody money, blah, 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 blah. I get it. But how incredibly stupid and foolish do you have to be if that it is indeed true? Number one. Number two, the NBA knew about this. The NBA knew about this for at least 6 months, and they did nothing. So the NBA already has a credibility and a viewership issue in the United States. They don't have an issue internationally. About 70% of their viewership now is from overseas. So that's fine. This is not going to hurt them in that aspect. But any goodwill that they're trying to rebuild with domestic audiences, I got to think that people are going to be like, shit, do I really want to watch a league that is potentially rigged?
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that because the NBA has its own issues with, a lot of people when it comes to regular season games and load management. But now when players are out, like people will not give the league the benefit of the doubt. They'll question it. And not to mention Damian Jones has been arrested as well for his involvement in player props.
Yep.
The Rozier stuff, like I get everybody reacting to this, but really, like, no one can have a hard opinion when you play in the league. Like, they asked Steph Curry, they asked Steve Kerr, and Steve, mentioned that it's hard in the league now, as it was before. But now that when leagues have sponsorship deals with these, these casinos or gambling sites, they get threats from players, or they get threats from fans saying, you taking so-and-so out of the game screwed me over. I lost this amount of money. And that's real shit. But at the same time, that's not relevant to what's going on right now. Like I saw the other night on Inside the NBA where Kenny Smith was talking about how gambling's an addiction. And then Charles Barkley cut him off and said, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Yeah. It's talking about fixing games. Like, yes, gambling is an addiction. It's a problem in our society. But that has nothing to do with what's going on right now. Terry Rozier is doing this because he wants to make some extra coin. Is he addicted to, pulling himself out of games or being a part of player propositions? I don't know. But that's not the issue. The issue was these guys were fixing games. These guys were giving away information. It's not a gambling problem right now. You can point your finger to, ESPN or in the NBA or the NFL or Major League Baseball being involved with these gambling sites. That's a whole different issue. We're talking about Terry Rozier taking himself out of games because he wanted to get some extra coin, or Chauncey Billups giving information to the mafia. We're not talking about gambling. We're talking about fixing games. Yeah. That's the issue we're talking about right now. And I go to the Michael Porter Jr. interview that we played on this podcast in the off season, where he said, I can understand why guys do this. I can understand why you can help your boys out with some extra cash. And this is reference to his brother, Jonte Porter, getting busted for the same thing that Terry Rozier is going through right now. But you can't justify that. There's a difference between, this is why, like, I always value Tom Tolbert's opinion on this stuff, because he is a massive gambler. But he always said, once you start messing with the integrity of the game, that's where I draw the line. You can gamble on anything you want, but if you're a player in the league, you cannot do this shit. It changes the perspective of that player. Like, it's different when, like, Jameson Williams gets busted for, putting a bet in on his phone for college football when he's at the team facility. But when you're Isaiah Rodgers, or you're Calvin Ridley, or you're these guys that actually are gambling on your sport, that's a problem. And it's more of a problem with Terry Rozier, where he's changing the outcome of a game where he's playing in it. It's totally different. So I respect people's opinions on gambling in today's society. Whatever you think about it, that's fine. But that's not the issue at hand. The issue at hand is Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups were fixing games and giving away information. That's not a gambling problem.
No. It's as Tom said, as you said, Tom said, it's an integrity problem. And that's what I question now, is how does this, because the credibility of the league domestically for sure goes down because of that. And you can't be fixing games. This is different. Gambling and sports have always gone hand in hand, right? This is not like combat sports. This is not like boxing, for instance, where you're a prize fighter and you place a bet on yourself before the fight. A lot of fighters still do it, but that's because they think they're going to go win and they want to double their purse or whatever the case is. This is literally changing the outcomes of the games. It's a league that's already had problems with this, with what was it, Donahue or yeah. Someone in the chat said Donahue, which I thought was like, I think Donahue, but Donahue, yeah. So Donahue out there, and then it's a massive issue. You can't have this happen. I do kind of want to take it in a little bit of a different direction. I know it's still sports related, but it's also a big media show with FBI Director Kash Patel and Pam Bondi getting up there and talking about it. And yes, is this an important story? Of course, because sports are important in our society and we shouldn't be rigging games and all that kind of stuff. But as a person who studies politics, this is so much of a, hey, everybody, look over to here so no one else is looking over at all this other stuff that's going on. Yeah. So it's going to have a lot of massive media weight behind it because the government wants it to, right? And it's still an important story. But it's an important story for ESPN. It's an important story for all the sports outlets. It's not the most important story going on in America, even though it is important.
Right.
So I will say this. From a sports perspective, it's horrible. You hope this is not going on in other leagues. I think it's really sad that players and coaches in the league currently are not willing to take a hard stand on it. Now, if the allegations are all true, and they still don't take a hard stand on it, and we get these Michael Porter Jr. answers where it's like, well, you're trying to get the whole fam to come up. It's like, no, let's not rig the game. Please, let's not do that. So I want to wait till these things are proven, obviously. But if we assume that if a lot of people just assume, okay, it's already proven because you've been, there's an allegation. So if that's the way you're operating, then I would say, and you don't trust the game integrity anymore, don't watch the NBA, or watch it and know that maybe you shouldn't gamble on it because who knows what's going on.
No, exactly. And it was no coincidence that these arrests were made the first day of the NBA league year, or the day after. And dude, that press conference where the woman that runs New York PD, whatever her affiliation was, and she's like, Terry Rozier, an NBA player, was betting on NBA games or manipulating NBA games, and now he will be sidelined, not for his play, but for his integrity. I was like, all right,
that was pretty good, right?
And then, it's good, but it's also kind of cheesy as hell.
No, it is. That's what I'm saying. It's like right out of a movie. The other thing that was funny, there was some guy up there. He was like, and it's affected several teams, like the Toronto Rangers. It was like some old guy from New York, and he goes, like the Toronto Rangers. And I was just like, the Toronto Rangers.
Yeah.
They're so sad.
They're well versed in sports, just like contestants on Jeopardy.
Oh, that's the. By the way, I saw another episode of Jeopardy the other night because I watch Jeopardy semi-regularly. It was a recorded one, and there was a sports category. Oh yeah, no, they never get them.
They're terrible at that shit. But yeah, the guys in the chat mentioned Tim Donaghy. There was a recent Netflix documentary about him where his whole thing was the mafia strong-armed me. That's why I fix games. It'll be very interesting to hear from Chauncey Billups when he does speak, or Terry Rozier, to get their side of things. Were they strong-armed to do this? I don't know, but will we see arrests from the mafia side of things? Is Chauncey Billups gonna give his side and gonna rat the other guys out? And at that point, who cares? You have to save yourself. But I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting to see how this goes down. And if we see more big names involved, then this is going to be a problem. But if it just stays with Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups, I think the league can move on from this.
I would say one other thing. I do think the league can move on from it, but they also, when they have information that stuff like this is even maybe going on, the self-policing needs to be a lot better. That's the first thing. The second thing is this. If you are a player, if you're just a person in general, and you're dealing in illicit markets for gambling, is a very bad idea. It's very dangerous. Like the Gilbert Arena situation, a guy got shot outside of one of those poker games. That's why the whole thing blew up. With Chauncey Billups doing this stuff with the mafia and stuff like that, if that is indeed true, these are people that can kill people and will kill people. So it's sad and it shouldn't be happening. And just, I would recommend to anybody who's gambling, try not to gamble in illicit markets, because these are criminals. These are real bad people.
No, exactly. And I don't want to make light of the Chauncey Billups stuff. Like I just said, ratting out, that's not rounding out. You have to save yourself. So
sure.
If those individuals are being threatened for their life, then it's a whole situation in itself. So we'll see what actually comes to light as far as what happened behind the scenes with this stuff. But as far as on the court, Alon, Warriors look pretty good, huh?
I liked it. I did tune in to the Warrior game after the World Series game had ended, so I caught the end.
Night?
Yeah,
last night. I mean, whatever. No. That's a typical back-to-back in the NBA.
It was.
As soon as I saw the arrests Thursday morning, I was like, watch the Warriors win tonight against the Nuggets, and that's the true win. Then tomorrow they're like, let's give Tiago Splitter a good first win as head coach. They're going through a lot right now.
Yeah, but the win against the Nuggets, and then on opening night against the Lakers. I mean, I know the Lakers didn't have LeBron James; they just had Luka. Luka played a hell of a game. Still very hard to defend. Warriors maybe don't have an answer for him. But the fact that they were able to play against Denver, go into OT, and win it, which is a game I would say over the past couple of seasons where they've had a Denver Nuggets issue. And there's no doubt about it, a big one. And it was great to see in the first game Jimmy Butler be the guy, right? But then in the Denver game to see Steph Curry be like, by the way, everybody, I'm still here and I'm just getting better with age, so it doesn't really matter. I'm not going away anywhere. So I thought that was huge. And you know what I really liked? I know Jokic had his regular triple-double, but he didn't crush them, which he usually does. He usually just imposes his will from start to finish on the entire game. Yes, he was a very important player, but he didn't crush them in the way that we've seen him crush them in the past. 21 points is a lot, 10 assists is a lot, but it's usually a lot more from him. So that was, I thought, a very encouraging sign.
No, definitely. It was Aaron Gordon who was killing him, going 10 for 11 from three-point range. By the way, last player to hit 10 threes in a season opener, Terry Rozier. Not making that up.
Is that true?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Ernie Johnson had it on the post-game show on Inside the NBA, and they were all sitting quietly. And then Charles was like, probably best to go to commercial break after that one.
He probably bet on himself to make all those threes that night.
Exactly. But
Aaron Gordon with 50 points was an issue, though.
Dude, he was incredible. And I mean, the fact that Steph was that electric, this early in the season, I was there on Thursday night. It felt like a playoff game. And that's the most fun October Warrior game I've been to in quite some time. And I have to give credit where credit is due. Jonathan Kuminga looks great. I don't know how he's going to fit in the long haul. I don't know how, if he's going to start every game. I think eventually Al Horford has to start the 5 because Steve Kerr made it a point in the offseason that we can't have Draymond Green keep playing the 5 position. Mm-hmm. But if Jonathan Kuminga is going to be that guy that is 4 from 6 from three-point range, he gets rebounds, he makes assists, he is able to, defensively make the switch and go on Nikola Jokic to get that defensive stop. That's all I asked for. And, do I think he'll be on the basketball team past the trade deadline? I really don't know. Like, I don't know what they're going to get in return at this point. I can also see Joe Lacob being like, why not just keep him? So if he's a difference maker, I'm all for him being on the basketball team. If he's going to not like his role being changed up, because that's what Steve Kerr does with everybody. I mean, not everybody, but like Steph's going to start every game. Draymond, for the most part, is going to start every game. Jimmy Butler's going to start, but everybody else, it's open to change every night. So if he's okay with that, then I'm all for it. But if he's going to, complain to Shams Charania or his agent, then I'm not going to like that. So I like what I saw. Let's just keep going, Warriors. Like, if it's going to look this way the rest of the way, then I'm confident. But if there's going to be issues, and I still have skepticism when it comes to their age, but if they play like that, and then they'll get Anthony Melton and they'll get Seth Curry officially on the roster soon, then they could be a dangerous team as long as Jonathan Kuminga's bought in 100%.
I agree with that. And the Kuminga that we've seen so far, it looks like there's definitely buy-in. I think what will be good for Kuminga as well as the team is the team continues to have success. I think his success goes up as well. And so maybe eventually, if he's not already thinking that way, eventually he'll go, wait, I actually put up some pretty good stats when we're playing good team Warrior basketball, right? So it doesn't need to be the Jonathan Kuminga show. It needs to be the Warriors show, and Kuminga is a key contributor to that. I was going to ask one thing. I was going to say one thing about Al Horford, because I know you're talking about the 5 spot, right?
Yep.
It's going to take a while for Al to get going because of his age. He's been in the league a long time, but I thought he did a decent job of contributing against the Nuggets.
Yes.
And we saw just already an elevation between what he did in that Laker game and to the Nugget game. Now, I don't know what his role looks like in terms of minutes going forward. It's hard for me to see him being a guy, unless maybe in the postseason, who's going to play more than, say, 22, 23 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Like, he just was acquired, less than a month ago. So he still needs to get acclimated to the rest of the team. But there will be matchups where he's the starting 5. But yeah, I think for the most part, like, you're not going to see him play on back-to-backs either. So yeah, he'll probably play 20 minutes. They'll probably ramp that up as we get closer to the postseason. It was very interesting, though. They closed that game out in overtime with a starting lineup of Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Kuminga, Draymond, and Al Horford.
Yep.
And that's a very, very old lineup. I wonder if they'll ever start games like that. And Jimmy Butler playing the 2. That's not a whole lot of 3-point shooting on that team, but that's a lot of size. And I wonder if Steve Kerr is just kind of like, all right, I got to switch it up myself. Like, I've been too stuck in my ways of wanting so many shooters and starting small. If we go bigger against the likes of the Houston Rockets, then we have a chance to bang with them. So yeah, I'm open for anything at this point with the Warriors. I just want Jonathan Kuminga to be bought in and not make it about himself. That's it.
When you bring up the Houston Rockets, I am interested to see what the Warriors look like defensively in the switch game when they do have to contend with guys like Durant.
No, definitely. All right. Alabama is underway, so I don't want to keep you too much longer, Alon. So let's pick these games.
Yeah, let's do it. I got the game on record anyway, so I'm not worried.
All right,
let's
sweet.
go.
So we pick games from Thursday night. So yeah, let's start with something we call wins or wangs.
Did I win the last time we picked, Derek, or did Steven have to take a punishment for me?
Steven he did not take a punishment for you because, ultimately it was you that did the picks. So I forgot to tell you that you do need to do some punishment at some point. Next time you're on, we'll definitely do that. But he just chugged a beer because he had to do something in fantasy football related to that. But next time you're on, Alon, we'll get you some hot sauce. But let's start off with week 8. I have a 2-1 lead on you because you did get the over right in the Minnesota Charger game. Mm-hmm. But I got the team right and I got the points bet right. So I'm up 2-1. Let's start with the Cleveland Browns going to the New England Patriots. Patriots are 7-point favorites, over under 40.5.
I think the under hits in this game, and I think the Patriots win and do cover.
All righty. I am going the same thing. I think that Dylan Gabriel, he's on some stat now, record-wise, without throwing an interception through his like first 125 passes or something like that. But if you really look at it, he's not going that deep with passes. It's just kind of dink and dunk stuff right now. So I'm not that impressed with him. I think the Browns defense is really good, but the Patriots are that much better offensively and defensively. So I would go with the Patriots. I'm going to lay the points. I'm going under on the 40.5. Then we're going to Cincinnati, where the Jets are taking on the Bengals. Aaron Glenn was going to make it, a secret of who his starting quarterback's going to be. He doesn't want to give the Bengals a competitive advantage when the team's 0-7 to begin with. Tyrod Taylor was hurt already, so that should have been enough detail for you to say that Justin Fields is going to start this game, and he is. So the Bengals are 6-point favorites, over under 44.5.
I like the over in this game. No, I like the under in this game, and I will take the Bengals to cover. The Jets are so bad.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I thought the Jets were going to get their first victory last week against the Panthers. Mm-hmm. The Bengals are on kind of a mini bye, and Joe Flacco looks kind of at ease. He was in the media this past week. They asked him, like, what's it like, being away from your family for so long? He's like, I'm okay. I'm in my 40s, I'm the type of guy that could go to a restaurant by himself and just enjoy himself. And, people were like, that's kind of weird. He's like, no, I used to think that was weird. Like, I see like a guy all lonely at the bar by himself. And now I'm like, that guy's in heaven. So it takes that much, comfortability in your life to say that out loud to people. I'm like, damn, that's awesome, Joe. Then they asked Jamar Chase, and he was like, why the hell would anybody sit at a restaurant by themselves?
Yeah.
And that's just the difference of being comfortable when you're older as opposed to younger and caring about what people think about you. So with that mindset, I'm taking the Bengals because Joe Flacco is very comfortable with who he is.
Yes.
So, yeah, Bengals lay the points, taking the under as well with the 44.5. Then we got the Miami Dolphins, and it is a shit show with the Dolphins right now. Going to Atlanta, where Kirko Cousins is going to be your starting quarterback. 7.5-point spread for the Falcons, over under 44.5.
I think this game goes over, and I do think the Falcons win. I don't think they cover, though.
I got the same exact thing. I got the Miami Dolphins covering, but they're just a mess right now. Tua throwing 3 interceptions of back-to-back weeks. He's not making a lot of sense when he goes to the podium after these games. And Mike McDaniel, I know he's, a funny guy, but he better be careful. Whatever his next gig is, when you throw the quarterback under the bus, that's not a good look. And he made the joke of Tua's going to be our starting quarterback this week, and let's hope he doesn't throw 10 interceptions. And you're like, ooh, that's a little too real with what's going on right now, where Tua's kind of questioning the leadership quality of the team right now, and then Mike McDaniel is questioning Tua as a quarterback. So with all that said, I think that Kirk Cousins might be a better option for the Falcons right now. I think that Michael Penix is a good quarterback, not a great quarterback. You see a lot of limitations from him in that 49ers loss. So I'm taking the Falcons. I got the Dolphins covering the 7.5, though, but give me the over on the 44.5. And then we got the Chicago Bears going to Baltimore. Baltimore coming off the bye. You look at their schedule. I never like playing the schedule game, but look at their schedule, kind of favorable. However, Lamar Jackson, he was limited the last 2 days in practice, the last 3 days in practice. He is not going to go. He is out for this game. Tyler Huntley is your starting quarterback against the Chicago Bears. It's a 7-point spread for the Ravens. I'm sure that's come down. I'll take a look real quick, but the over-under is 49.5.
I like the under in this game, even though both defenses are not good. But I do like the Ravens to cover. I think they should be able to obliterate the Bears on the ground.
Alrighty. Let me just see if the point spread has changed here, given the news with Lamar. It has changed drastically. I don't know if you want to change your pickle on here, where now the Ravens are just 1.5-point favorites.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, give me the Ravens to cover then.
Alrighty. I'm going to go with the Ravens as well. I think this is a do-or-die game. I'm going to go over... I'm going to go under on the... Sorry, I have this screwed up here. Hold on. Okay, sorry, Elon. You have the Ravens winning this game.
Ravens cover and the under.
Under. I'm going to do the same thing. Changing it up here. Yeah, I'll lay the points. Sorry, I just had the original spread of what it was before with last night. So, yeah, I'm going to go under on the 49.5. And, yeah, I got the Ravens winning this game. I just think that it's do or die. If they lose this game, they're 1-6.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar is slated to come back after that, but it's going to be an uphill battle. And you wonder about the trade deadline. Will the Ravens start selling off pieces? So, yeah, if they have aspirations of making the postseason, they have to win this game. So give me the Ravens, lay the points on the 1.5, and I'll go under on the 49.5. And then we got the Buffalo Bills going to the Carolina Panthers. The Bills are 7-point favorites. Over under 46.5. No Bryce Young for this game.
Yeah, that's the kicker. Is no Bryce Young, so that's really tough. I think the Bills win. I think this game hits the under, but the Bills do cover.
I'm going with the same thing. I think that Buffalo needed a bye week to kind of reset after 2 bad losses, one at home to the Patriots and one on the road against the Falcons. And the Bills have some defensive reinforcements coming back this week. Yeah, give me the give me the Buffalo Bills. I'm not buying the Carolina Panthers. I think they were a good story for the last 3 weeks with Rico Dowdle going off, but I think they get a loss here. So give me the Bills, lay the points, under on the 46.5. We got the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Houston Texans. Mac Jones once again gets the start. There's no Ricky Pearsall once again, but it sounds like Diamador Lenore will play in this game. No Nico Collins, no Christian Kirk for the Houston Texans. 1.5-point favorites for the Texans. Over under 42.
I like the over in this game, and I like the Texans to cover, which means they'll win. It's no offense against the Niners and Mac Jones. I think they're going to play fine. It's just I think the Texans need a win, and it's just tough.
I'm with you on this. I've been saying, and people hate me for this in the Bay Area, but I think this is a game where the Texans win. And despite the fact that they don't have a lot of offensive playmakers, it's just going to be a weird game. It's a 10 a.m. start. This is a typical 49er game, kind of like a couple years ago when they played the Browns, where they have a great win against the Atlanta Falcons on national TV, and then they go to the lowly Texans, and they lose. That's how I see this game going. And I think it's mostly because the Niners had success running the football with Christian McCaffrey last week. I don't see the same thing this week. I think that the Texans will stop the run. They're great defensively.
Yep.
And Mac Jones did not have to throw the ball much last week. Don't think that it's a good recipe for him to throw that much in this game either, because the Texans pass rush is that legit. And I can see Mac Jones having some turnovers in this game, with the likes of Derek Stingley Jr. As one of the better corners in all of football. So I know the Texans are banged up offensively. They don't have a good offense to begin with, but give me the Texans. I'm going to lay the points, and I'll go under on the 42. All right, then we got the New York Giants taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. No A.J. Brown. He's out for this game. Cam Jurgens also out at center for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles, despite all that, are 7-point favorites. Over under 43.5.
Give me the over and give me the Giants to cover, but I think the Eagles still win.
You and I are simpatico once again. I have the Philadelphia Eagles winning this game. I cannot see them getting swept by the Giants. However, we know the Giants can beat them, and I think it'll be a close game considering they are devastated after their loss to the Denver Broncos, where they led for most of that game. Not having A.J. Brown will slow them down a little bit. I could see this being a game where Saquon gets going rushing-wise, and this will just be more opportunities for Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and John Mechie and Jahan Dotson in the receiving core for the Eagles. So give me the Eagles. I'll have the Giants cover the 7 points, but I'll take the over as well. And then the late slate, we got the Bucs taking on the Saints. Bucs are 3.5-point favorites. Over under 46.5.
Yeah, this one, it's Bucs all day. Give me over, give me Bucs. I'll take that.
I'm doing the same thing too. I got the Bucs getting a win after their tough loss to the Lions on Monday night, and the Saints are the Saints at this point. So yeah, give me the Bucs, and I'll take the over on the 46. Then we got the Tennessee Titans taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Biggest spread of the weekend. The Colts are 14.5-point favorites. Over under 48.
Give me the under and give me the Titans to cover.
Ooh. I'm going with the Colts. I think they might be the best offense in all of football.
Yep.
So I like where your head's at, Alon, but I just think that the Titans they're just struggling right now, whether it's Brian Callahan or Mike McCoy. So give me the Colts, lay the points, and I'll go over on the 48. Then we got the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are 3.5-point favorites. Over under 51.
I like the I like the under here, and I like the Cowboys to win outright.
Ooh. Just because you don't think the Broncos defense can contain this Dallas offense?
I just think Dallas they need to figure out a way not to be a 500 team with just one with a tie, and I don't believe that the Broncos offense is going to be as lethal as it maybe should against Cowboys defense.
Yeah, but I think the defense comes in a little stronger just because they definitely were not great against the Giants. So, and also I'll admit this, even I grew up as a Raider fan for most of my life. The Broncos wearing their old Orange Crush jerseys, those are sweet. Not to mention, Alon, I know that for most of our childhood, we saw the Chargers kick the Raiders' ass in the Natron Means jerseys. They look pretty sweet on Thursday night.
They did.
Yeah. I will give the Chargers credit. They have some of the best uniforms in all of football. Yeah, give me the Broncos to win. I'll lay the points on the 3.5, but I'll go under on the 51. Excuse me.
And maybe I'm a little biased from the Cowboys beating the hell out of who was that? Washington?
Yes.
Yeah.
They put up 44 on them.
Yep.
And then we got the Sunday night game. It's the Aaron Rodgers revenge game against his old team, the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are 3-point favorites, and the over-under is 45.5. And news just broke a couple of minutes ago. Christian Watson, who tore his ACL at the end of last season, is back and good to go against the Steelers for the first time this season.
Yeah, I like the Steelers. The Steelers are favored?
No, the Packers are favored.
By 3?
Yes.
Wow. I'll take the Steelers to win outright, and I'll take the over. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a fun time.
I have a hard time thinking, though, that he'll have a fun time in moments, but this Packers defense is legit, and I think that their pass rush gets to him. I think that Aaron Rodgers moved well against the Bengals, but I can't see him having that much time against this Packers pass rush. So, yeah, give me the Packers to win. I'll lay the points. I'll go under on the 45.5, though. Then the Monday night game with no Jaden Daniels. Marcus Mariota is your quarterback for the Commanders. It's the Commanders at the Chiefs, and the spread is 12.5. The over-under is 48.
Yeah, this one's tough because I think Kansas City will cover. It's just a question of how many points the Commanders are going to put up. So it's a Monday night game, too. I'll take the over, and I'll take Kansas City to cover.
I'll take the Chiefs to cover as well. I think the Chiefs might be the best team in football right now. Just a balanced team on offense and defense. I'll go under on the 48, though. I think the Chiefs defense shuts them down with Marcus Mariota starting, and I think the Chiefs have their way offensively, but not to the tune of over 48 points. And there you go. Those are our picks for Week 8 in the NFL. As I get the music, and hopefully the timing is good. Where the hell? God damn it. Hold on here. All right. Wait, here we go. Okay. God, that would have been such a good point to end the music, but yeah, I know. All right, Alon. Next time you're on, we'll get you to do your hot sauce punishment. But for everybody out there, let people know how they can find you. I know you do a great podcast for UNLV football. Or is it baseball? Or is it soccer?
It's football.
Football.
I got Believe in UNLV. Haven't done an episode this week because of the bye week, but gonna do one probably tomorrow. Getting ready for next week of play after they got annihilated by Boise State. Also, tomorrow got a couple of soccer broadcasts, which is good. And the men's team that I call for, they are for UNLV looking to make the tournament. If they win the conference tournament, they'll get into the NCAA soccer tournament. So that's everything I'm doing. And I've also been on the local CBS station here quite a few times talking Raiders and stuff like that. So it's been good.
Awesome, dude. I'm very happy to hear that. Well, Alon, we're always happy that you could join us. For Tacky in the chat saying, Derek, when is Hawaii getting announced so I can get matching swimsuits with you? This is a little thing we're doing with KMBR. We're going to Hawaii to do a week of shows there. And listeners get to fly out if they qualified for the contest. I haven't been told anything, Tacky. I don't even know when I'm flying out there. So your guess is as good as mine when it comes to when all that stuff will be announced.
Tacky, you're not qualifying automatically. I'm just telling you, buddy.
Well, he did last year. He got to go, and then his wife this year got through, and we'll see if they qualified.
Tacky has a wife, even though he's obsessed with you.
Yeah, apparently so. What a weirdo.
Wow. You know what was that movie? Sorry, The Fan. That's Tacky. That's you and
I'm Wesley Snipes, and he's Robert De Niro.
Yeah, you're Wesley Snipes.
That's very weird. That's a very weird image. On that note, all right, everybody, we will see you on Wednesday. We are doing a show out at Harmonic again. If you want to come on through, Pat H. I'm sure I'll see you there. But the Warriors are playing the Clippers on Tuesday night at 8:00. Love a later tip. So we'll be back on Wednesday night when Steven's back, and we'll go through all of the games of Week 8. Maybe we have some trade news that night as well. For everybody in the chat, thanks to Rock a New Era, thanks to Tacky, thanks to AJ Cruz, thanks to Pat H. And I believe that is it. All right, everybody, we'll see you on Wednesday. Alon, say what we always say on this fine program.
Hey, that's just your opinion, man.